Williams started the year with no team principal, no technical director, and no hope. Nothing that happened during pre-season testing, after which the race ranked it as the worst performing team, changed that perception. Even Alex Albon accepted that Williams would be last, given it appeared to have the slowest car, albeit with the hope that it could be a stronger last. This wasn't downplaying things, as the team's own analysis also had it at the back. But 2 races into 2023, and Williams has defied expectations, with the team's strongest start to the year since 2017, and a car that was a points threat in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. So how has what appeared to be a rudderless ship in January become one of the surprises of the season? One way Williams has lived up to expectations is by having the slowest car, albeit not by much. In both Bahrain and Saudi Arabia, Williams was slowest based on a comparison of each team's fastest lap. But it was a close-run thing, and the car proved effective in race conditions. In Bahrain, the Williams FW45 showed Q2 pace and was strong in race trim. Albon finished 10th, having run in the points for 2/3 of the race, with Sargent a respectable 12th. Williams had the underlying speed to achieve a similar result in Saudi Arabia. But qualifying went badly, with Sargent setting a time that would have comfortably seen him through to Q2, only to exceed track limits, then make errors on his subsequent laps. Albon was confident heading into qualifying, but struggled for rear grip, and was also eliminated. Albon ran 12th after the safety car, although dropped to 13th thanks to wheel spin at the restart, then retired with a brake problem. Sargent finished 16th after starting at the back. But with a smooth qualifying and race, the team felt points were possible. Albon even described the car in the race as the best it's felt since joining Williams last year. A return of 1 point in 2 races is unremarkable in itself, but it is better than was expected. And it puts Williams ahead of both McLaren and AlphaTauri in the Constructors' Championship and level on points with Haas. It would be naive to assume Williams can keep up this level of performance. It has improved on last year in terms of its pace relative to the front, but with McLaren expected to improve once it introduces its upgrade package in Baku, even with this relatively strong start, Williams is in what Vowles calls a knife fight to do better than last in the championship. Realistically, the Williams FW45 has probably been flattered so far. It's a car that lacks downforce, and neither Bahrain nor Saudi Arabia are maximum downforce tracks. Also, the Williams cars of recent years have tended to be wind sensitive, and the uncharacteristically calm conditions on Saturday and Sunday in Bahrain meant that weakness wasn't exposed. So while it would be foolish to assume Williams can be a points threat every weekend, it should at least be in a position to score more frequently than last year when it managed just 4 top 10 finishes. Whether that's enough to do better than last in the championship is another question, but Williams at least has something to fight for this year, which is far more than what most, perhaps even Vowles, expected given the turmoil of the off-season. Much has changed at Williams since the end of last year, with the departure of CEO Jost Capito, Technical Director FX de Maison and Head of Aero David Wheater. Vowles joined from Mercedes as new team principal, starting work just before pre-season testing. The strong start to the season has little to do with a new regime. Indeed, Wheater posted on LinkedIn after the Bahrain Grand Prix that he was delighted to mark the end of his Williams career with signs of a good season ahead. And Capito replied to that, congratulating both Wheater and FX de Maison. It's clear they all see this as confirmation that they were working in the right direction, and it is to their credit that things have started well. But Vowles' regime will be judged on how well the team progresses in the longer term. Vowles has several important decisions to make. One of the priorities is to recruit a new technical director and head of aero. Although one hugely experienced technical director is now available in James Key, who has left McLaren, Williams is set to look elsewhere. Vowles has regularly talked about the need to facilitate personal growth in F1. Speaking before Key left McLaren, he spoke of potentially going for a candidate that is ready to be technical director but hasn't yet had the opportunity. With David Warner currently holding the role of interim technical director, Vowles and Williams are in no rush. The priority is to recruit the best available technical director and head of aero, and Williams is willing to wait if needed. There's also the need to finalise an engine deal for 2026 onwards. Williams has a supply deal with Mercedes until the end of 2025 and also uses the Mercedes gearbox and hydraulic systems. Most likely it will remain with Mercedes, having first teamed up with it at the start of the V6 turbo hybrid era in 2014, but Vowles is rightly evaluating all options. As he put it, if you get your house painted, you should get 3 quotes, rather than just agreeing with the first person who offers to do the job. Alongside these big decisions, Vowles is also attempting to instill the right culture at Williams. This can be an overused phrase for F1 teams, but it's all about bringing a team that last won a race a decade ago and hasn't won a title for a quarter of a century up to date. That includes sharpening up communications internally. Among the areas earmarked for improvement there are the systems for planning and monitoring production and design processes. This is where the most significant work will be done in 2023, with anything achieved on track a bonus. Given Williams has won 114 Grand Prix and 16 World Championships, it's easy to regard it as an F1 giant that's in a fallow period. But it's finished last in the Constructors' Championship in 4 out of the last 5 years and enjoyed most of its success in the 20th century, so it's now one of F1's lesser teams. It can't be considered simply to be a sleeping giant. When Doralton Capital bought the team in 2020, it was with the long-term target of re-emerging as a front-running force, but the timescale to do this is enormous. As Vowles has pointed out repeatedly, Williams is a team that has been weakened by years of underinvestment. For Vowles, along with newly appointed Chief Operating Officer Frédéric Brousseau, who brings a wealth of experience from the aerospace industry, the challenge is to rebuild Williams into a powerhouse. Under Capito's leadership, the talk was of 10-year plans, and Williams has to work based on those timescales. The 2026 regulations overhaul will present a chance to take a step forward, but realistically, even then, it can only aspire to be a midfield team. The cost cap and aerodynamic testing regulations will help Williams in this quest, and given the commercial agreements that governed F1 from 2014 to 2020 played a big part in Williams struggling financially, so too will the current Concord agreement that divides the slice of F1's revenue shared by the teams more equitably. But investment and improvement takes time, not least because of the restrictions on capital expenditure under the cost cap. That's something Vowles is lobbying to change in order to accelerate the process. Vowles knows exactly what a top-line F1 team looks like, having been an integral part of Mercedes for so long. He also knows where Williams really is, having been confronted with the day-to-day reality of its situation since joining. He realises this is going to be a long haul, particularly given this is a team that has had too many false dawns over the past 20 years. A good start to 2023 is barely a drop in the ocean when it comes to fulfilling these ambitions.